Welcome to Manila Updates TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world woke up to headlines that felt like a punch to the gut. Overnight, the ordinary rhythm of daily life was shattered by a sense of dread and disbelief. Breaking, China issues a 48-hour ultimatum to the US. The news spread like wildfire, igniting fear and uncertainty in every corner of the globe. Global markets in freefall. Warships on the move in the South China Sea. The world's financial and military nerves were stretched to the breaking point. In Beijing, Foreign Minister Wang Yi delivered a chilling ultimatum: release Dr. Chen Wei, apologize, or face severe consequences. His words echoed through the halls of power worldwide. This was not diplomacy. It was the drumbeat of war, a warning that the world was teetering on the edge of something catastrophic. The world watched, stunned, as Wang accused the US of kidnapping a Chinese official and violating international law. The accusations were grave, the consequences potentially devastating. The message: release Dr. Chen immediately and unconditionally, or China would retaliate. The ultimatum was clear, the threat unmistakable. The icy calm in Wang's voice was more terrifying than any shouted threat. It was the calm before a possible storm, a silence that spoke volumes. Shockwaves hit instantly. The Dow plunged, oil prices soared, and panic spread across global markets. Investors scrambled, governments convened emergency meetings, and ordinary people felt the tremors in their daily lives. People everywhere were glued to their screens, asking, how did a single arrest bring the world to the brink? Conversations in homes, offices, and cafes were dominated by fear and speculation. This is not just a diplomatic spat, it's a clash of titans, US and China, locked in a struggle for dominance. The rivalry had simmered for years, but now it threatened to boil over. Years of trade wars, tech rivalry, and military posturing have led to this moment. Every unresolved dispute, every harsh word, had built up to this crisis. But this incident pushed both nations past the point of no return. The world watched as the clock ticked down, wondering if cooler heads would prevail. The 48-hour clock is ticking, a relentless countdown to a decision that could shape the fate of billions. Every second felt heavier than the last. The choices made in Washington and Beijing will determine the world's future. Behind closed doors, leaders weighed options with the weight of history on their shoulders. Will reason prevail, or will the world be dragged into a conflict that could become World War III? The possibility of global war loomed larger than ever before. The stakes have never been higher. Every nation, every citizen, felt the tension in the air, knowing that the outcome would affect generations to come. The world holds its breath. In this moment of uncertainty, hope and fear are intertwined as humanity waits for the next move. At the center of the storm is Dr. Chen Wei, China's top energy envoy and the mastermind behind Beijing's ambitious global energy strategy. Revered in policy circles, Dr. Chen is known for his sharp intellect and his ability to navigate the complex world of international energy politics. He's a key player in China's digital currency revolution, the e-yuan, and a linchpin in their economic ambitions. Dr. Chen's influence stretches from the boardrooms of Beijing to the financial capitals of the world, making him a crucial figure in China's rise as a global power. His arrest in Caracas, Venezuela, was a covert US operation, swift, silent, and shocking. Few outside a tight circle of intelligence officials knew it was coming, and the world was caught off guard. Dr. Chen was finalizing a major oil deal when US agents intercepted his convoy and whisked him away under the cover of darkness, leaving his security details stunned and powerless. The Venezuelan government was blindsided. Beijing learned of the arrest through a terse US statement, sparking immediate confusion and outrage in both capitals. The charge: economic espionage and sanctions violations. The US accused Dr. Chen of masterminding a sophisticated plot to undermine American interests. The US alleges Dr. Chen was orchestrating a scheme to bypass sanctions using the e-yuan, threatening America's grip on global finance and challenging the dominance of the dollar. The arrest was meant as a warning to Beijing, but it backfired spectacularly, igniting a diplomatic firestorm that neither side could easily contain. For China, this was an unforgivable insult, a direct attack on sovereignty and national pride. The public outcry was immediate and intense. Beijing saw it as an act of aggression, not a legal matter. The government's response was swift and uncompromising. The fact it happened in Venezuela, a Chinese ally, only deepened the outrage and raised questions about the safety of Chinese officials abroad. China's response was not a legal appeal, but a raw display of power. Military maneuvers and stern warnings filled the airwaves. The ultimatum was their answer, setting the stage for a historic confrontation that would draw in nations around the globe. The world now faces the fallout of a single explosive decision. Tensions are rising, and uncertainty hangs over every capital. The stakes, nothing less than the future of the global order. Alliances are being tested, and the balance of power is shifting. The 48-hour clock is ticking. Every second brings the world closer to a potential tipping point. The world watches, waiting for the next move. People everywhere are glued to their screens, hoping for answers. The crisis is just beginning. Behind closed doors, leaders scramble to find a way out of the escalating standoff. The consequences could be catastrophic. The fate of nations, and the world, hangs in the balance. This crisis is about far more than one man. It's a struggle that reaches into every corner of the globe, affecting ordinary people and powerful leaders alike. The arrest of Dr. Chen Wei was the spark that ignited a much larger fire. The real conflict is for control of the world's future. A battle over who will shape the rules of the new era. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's reserve currency, America's ultimate source of power and influence. It's the backbone of global trade, giving the US unmatched leverage over other nations. But China is determined to break free from this system. The digital e-yuan is their weapon of choice, aiming to create a new global financial order beyond US reach. If successful, it could shift the balance of power for generations. Dr. Chen was the mastermind behind this bold plan. His arrest was America's attempt to stop it before it could change the world's financial landscape forever. The fight for energy is the other front in this global struggle. The US has long dominated oil markets, but China is now the world's largest importer, shifting the dynamics of power. Dr. Chen was building a petro-yuan system, oil for Chinese currency, a direct threat to the petrodollar. By arresting him, the US tried to protect its dominance and prevent a seismic shift in global trade. But for China, this is more than economics. It's an existential fight. Breaking free from the dollar is a matter of national security, pride, and global power. That's why China has reacted with such fury and determination. This is a fight for control of the future, and neither side is willing to back down. The world is caught in the crossfire, watching as tensions escalate. The stakes? The very future of global power. The countdown continues, and every move is watched by billions. The next decision could change everything. The world waits, holding its breath. China's response was swift and ruthless. Even before the ultimatum, Beijing began unleashing its economic arsenal. First, a massive sell-off of US Treasury bonds sent shockwaves through global markets. Interest rates spiked, threatening a US recession. The message, "We can hurt you at your core." Simultaneously, cyber attacks hit the US. The New York Stock Exchange crashed, ports went dark, power grids flickered. US intelligence had no doubt. This was China's new form of warfare. No shots fired, but America was reeling. China also halted rare earth exports, crippling US tech and defense industries. These actions were calculated to inflict maximum pain, just below the threshold of war. It was unrestricted warfare, economic, cyber, psychological. China showed it could paralyze America without matching its military. The world watched in awe and fear. The rules of conflict had changed. The 48-hour clock ticked faster. The US scrambled to respond. The crisis deepened. The threat was no longer theoretical. The world was living it. How did it come to this? The answer lies in the White House. President Trump, in his second term, authorized Dr. Chen's arrest. Bold, aggressive, and risky. He believed it would force China to back down. But the plan was built on miscalculations. Advisors underestimated China's resolve and nationalism. They thought Beijing would seek a quiet solution, not escalate. Trump overruled cautious voices, convinced he could control the crisis. Instead, China escalated. Economic warfare, cyber attacks, and a chilling ultimatum. The administration was caught off guard. The gamble failed. Now Trump faces a choice: retreat in humiliation or risk catastrophic war. The world pays the price for this epic miscalculation. The clock keeps ticking. As diplomacy faltered, militaries moved. The US Navy's 7th Fleet went on high alert, warships steaming toward the South China Sea. B-2 bombers redeployed to Guam, within striking range of China. China responded in kind, sending its own fleets and moving carrier-killer missiles into position. The South China Sea became a powder keg, Russia joined in, conducting joint naval exercises with China and deploying nuclear submarines. The crisis was now a three-way standoff among nuclear powers. Fighter jets from both sides patrolled contested waters, tensions sky-high. A single miscalculation could trigger catastrophe. Military commanders played a dangerous game of brinkmanship. The world held its breath, hoping for restraint. Every move was a signal, a threat, a test of resolve. The risk of war had never been greater. The crisis shattered global alliances. In Europe, the UK backed the US, but Germany and France urged restraint, fearing economic fallout. Unity proved elusive as leaders scrambled for a common position. In Asia, US allies like Japan and South Korea were caught between security commitments and economic ties to China. Calls for restraint echoed, but anxiety was palpable. Regional players like the Philippines and Vietnam watched nervously, fearing conflict on their doorstep. In the Middle East, oil exporters benefited from soaring prices but stayed neutral, hedging between Washington and Beijing. America's influence waned as China's power grew. The old global order was fracturing. Nations put their own interests first, alliances splintered, competing blocs emerged, US on one side, China, Russia on the other. The world became more unstable, unpredictable. The guardrails of peace were coming off. As tensions soared, the specter of nuclear war loomed. The US, China, and Russia, all nuclear powers, raised their alert levels. Decades of mutually assured destruction had kept the peace, but now that logic was under strain. US bombers and submarines moved into position. China and Russia responded in kind. Each side's defensive moves looked like threats to the other. China's nuclear arsenal, though smaller, was growing and more sophisticated. Hardliners in Beijing pushed for a more aggressive stance. The greatest danger, a mistake, a false alarm, a misread signal, a cyber attack disrupting communications. In minutes, civilization could end. The 48-hour countdown was now a countdown to potential apocalypse. The world teetered on the edge. The stakes could not be higher. The 48-hour ultimatum nears its end. The world stands on a knife's edge, between humiliation and war. Markets are frozen. Fear is everywhere. President Trump faces an impossible choice: release Dr. Chen and appear weak, or refuse and risk catastrophe. President Xi faces his own moment of truth: back down and lose face, or escalate and risk global war. Both leaders are trapped by their own rhetoric and national pride. Back-channel talks continue, but no breakthrough is in sight. The world can only watch and wait. Will diplomacy pull us back from the brink? Will reason prevail over pride and anger? The fate of the century will be decided in hours. Will this be the day the world chose peace, or the day we stumbled into darkness? The clock is ticking,